Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the solar eclipse that's happening April 30th. Eclipses are probably the most valuable tool for prediction as an astrologer. So I'm going to give you the gist of what this is about to bring. Now, we have eclipses twice a year. Solar eclipses happen twice a year, always 6 months apart. And what they really do is they bring up all the things that we didn't know about. Because what are they? They're the darkening of the lights in the sky, whether it be the sun or the moon. The sun is a solar eclipse where the sun and the moon are conjoined with Rahu or Ketu. And the lunar eclipse is when you have a full moon. That means the sun and the moon are opposed to each other. And they're tied up with the nodes, Rahu and Ketu. Okay, so before I move on, let me remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. Go to my website, galacticcenter.org, sign up for my free newsletter, and you will get all of my predictions delivered to your email address. So remember to do so while you're there and pay attention to my beautiful spiritual jewelry and all the new classes that are starting up throughout this year. So with that, let me get back to about this solar eclipse. This is a big one. Now, this happens on the very last day of April. So in April, we actually had a new moon on the 1st and another new moon on the 30th. It's a new moon with Rahu. And what's tied up with this new moon as well in Aries is Uranus. So we have the new moon, which is at 16 degrees of Aries, and Uranus is at 20 degrees. Uranus is sudden, unexpected changes. And remember also that these eclipse energies are good all the way till the next eclipse. So in other words, it brings about events during that whole 6-month period between now and October, when we're going to have more eclipse energy happening in October and November. So with that, this nakshatra that it's occurring in Bharani is the nakshatra that symbol is the woman's reproductive system, the uterus. That's the symbol because what it symbolizes is births, a new beginning, and the birthing process, which actually in the birthing process is extremely painful. But what happens is from a point of limitation, the baby has outgrown its environment and it has to be born. So basically, we have outgrown an environment or the way that we are, and it's time to go to a new world and a new beginning, a birth, a breakthrough. That's what we're going to be experiencing from now till the next eclipse, which happens in October, November. That's the eclipse season again. So what are eclipses? They're where the darkening of the light. And let me explain something very important about the darkening of the light in this case. I want you to go back to the last time that there were eclipses in this area of the zodiac, and that would have been, go back to 1985, or most of you say, well, I was born that year, or 2003. So here's the thing. Eclipses happen twice a year, but it takes Rahu and Ketu 18.5 years to go through all 12 signs. And this is going back 18.5 years ago, the last time this eclipse energy was happening in these signs. So what I want to say is What happened to you in 2003, 2004? Something similar is about to transpire in your life. Now, if it were something very difficult, it still represented a new beginning. And that's what this eclipse energy is all about. New beginnings, endings and beginnings, and produce a whole new world for you. That's what you're going to be experiencing. Now, wherever this eclipse happens in your chart, according to what house Rahu and Ketu are in, Aries and Libra, that's going to be where the change occurs. So you're going to want to know where this is happening. I can fill you in on that in another video, but with this, just go back and think about what happened in 2003 and 4 or 1985, around those times. Those were monumental years of new births in your life. Okay? So another thing, during the time of this solar eclipse, the day of it, as a matter of fact, Jupiter and Venus will be exactly conjunct at 3 degrees of Pisces. Now, this is very meaningful because, well, Jupiter and Venus are arch enemies. They do not like each other. They are the leaders, the warriors of their camps or of their army. And you put them together, they're going to resist. And also on that day of the eclipse, they're actually in planetary war. They're on top of each other. And that means that they're at odds. So a lot of things are at odds during this day and during this time. This sets up the whole feel for the next 6 months. And I want to say they're in the nakshatra Uttara Bhadrapada. This is Jupiter and Venus. And this represents an incredible fight and sorrow because they're conjunct the fixed star sheet that deals with incredible sorrow. And I think these two planets being together in such a way will cause major storms, major floods. And Venus just crossed over Neptune like 3 days prior. And this can bring out some very meaningful, very beautiful things of the arts. Something beautiful could happen, but there's going to be a resistance that happens when this Jupiter-Venus come together. And this eclipse energy means something suddenly, unexpectedly will happen. Be aware. And another thing is the Mars and Saturn, the hostility and the war that they've stirred up. It's not over. There's still a lot that has to settle. Mars will still be in Aquarius, and Saturn will have by this time moved into Aquarius. So Mars and Saturn are coming from a different placement rather than Capricorn. And what they're telling us is humanity has to heal. Humanity has to bring people together instead of separating people. No more separation. We have to be brought together. That's what the whole meaning of this is all about. And there's a new awakening from all of this energy. That's a new birth that's being brought to the world. And it will start to make more sense as the months move on. By the next eclipse, the world will be different. It will be very different because that eclipse energy takes into account many things. I won't even go into it right now. Mars being retrograde and another whole outbreak of something that will be very difficult. Let me just put it like that. But this eclipse is going to shed light on so many things that we didn't know about, because eclipses always bring up things we didn't know about. And being in Aries and Ketu being in Libra, but being in Aries, it's a new beginning, a new birth, a new start. That's the energy that's going to be out there in the world. So one more thing about this, Rahu is in Kritika, so things are going to start really happening quickly, and things are going to really shift as soon as, well, we know that the sun and the moon being in Aries. And another thing at this eclipse time, the Kalasarpa Yoga's been broken. Mercury is outside the realm of Rahu and Ketu, meaning a new freedom, a new opening. And our minds will be totally different. So one last thing that I've been warning a lot of us about is that Uranus being tied up with the eclipse energy, it rules things that happen suddenly and unexpectedly, and that rules earthquakes. So there's going to be so many earthquakes that are going to start up. And around the times of eclipses, we have more earthquakes. So before and after the eclipse, like March and April, and then May and June, watch how this eclipse energy stirs up earthquakes all around the world. And yes, I do think that California is going to experience more and more earthquakes this year. It's not going to fall off into the ocean. It's not going to happen, but there's going to be earthquakes. So, you know, make sure that you're living in a building that's earthquake proof and things are, you know, put things where they won't fall, but that kind of thing. Just prepare. It's not going to be the end of the world, but there will be many more earthquakes starting now. Watch and see, because Uranus is that planet of unexpected change. Another thing is, boy, are there going to be new inventions coming about. Uranus rules invention. New way of looking at things, and astrology even in the future. All these things are going to become more and more prominent throughout this year. People are going to start recognizing these truths and what it's all about. So get ready for the new awakening this year as the nodes are transiting through Aries Libra, and we have these solar eclipse now in Aries, and 6 months later it's going to be in Libra, and the world has got to change. And here are the parameters of change. The stars, the planets, they give us guidance. Use this to its best ability to help guide your life. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like more information on me, remember you can always go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. And if you would like to study Vedic astrology with me, go to my university website. It's amazing. University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.